guys, first we can talk in terms of layers. There's two layers to this model. There's the epidermis and dermis. So if I'm pointing to anything around here, this purple line here up, if I point to this and I say name the layer, it's epidermis. If I go over here and say name the layer, it's dermis. If I'm down here in the yellow and say name the layer, it's subcutaneous or hypodermis. Okay? All right. So next we look at the epidermis. We go through the different stratums. So kind of start from the bottom up. So the stratum basale is this single row of cells. You see at the bottom is like a dark purple band going across. That's stratum basale. Next up from there, this lighter purple band here, a little thicker. Okay, that's your stratum spinosum. Next one up after that, another dark band again. This one has these little black specks in it, representing granules. That's your stratum granulosum. Then you notice we have this white line here, and notice there's no white line over there. This is thick skin, that's thin skin. The white line represents stratum lucidium, which we only have in thick skin, not in thin skin. And then after that, we have the very thick, at least in thick skin, we have the very thick stratum corneum. Again, not as thick over in the thin side. I'll probably stick with the thick side to point that out. So all together, stratum basale, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, lucidium, corneum. Okay, that's our layers of stratum. All right, from there we go to the dermis layer. Right, that's this whole part underneath basal. And the first thing is the top part of the dermis. We're going to call this a region. It's the papillary region. Okay, it's like the top 20% of the dermis.
The dot?
Well, all the way across. So if I'm right beneath the stratum basale, and I say name the region, you're going to say, oh, it's the papillary region of the dermis. You don't have to put up the dermis, but if you want to, that's nice. Everything else, deeper to papillary region, is the reticular region of the dermis. That's actually your dense irregular connective tissue. So it's if I'm pointing here and say name the region, it's papillary region. If I'm pointing down here and say name the region, it's reticular region. Okay? If I'm pointing here and say name the layer, it's dermis. All right, so don't get those confused. Okay, I'll just take an order. So guys, here, we have these bumps or these hills and valleys. That's the dermal papillae of the dermis. Okay, now a couple of things. Well, right here, one thing that we don't have in our list, but we need it because it's on the model. This little round sensory structure here. Notice the little black line coming off of it. That's actually the axon. So this is actually turns out to be a corpuscle of touch, or another name for that, Meissner's corpuscle. It's a touch receptor. Okay. Other parts to worry about here, these white glands all the way across, those are eccrine sweat glands. And then this big convoluted gland right in the center, that's a apocrine sweat gland. All right? Then what part of the hair is this, guys?
The shaft.
That's the shaft. If I'm pointing here, I'm pointing to the
root.
The root. If I'm pointing there, I'm pointing to the hair bulb. And then if I'm pointing inside there with the blood vessels, the papilla of hair. Now also associated with the hair, I have this little bit of smooth muscle right here, the erector pili. And then I have a gland associated with that hair right here in blue. There's another one over here. That's your sebaceous gland. Okay. Now again, if I'm pointing down here and I say name the layer, it's subcutaneous layer. But if I'm pointing at one of these little yellow circles and I say name the cell, it's an adipocyte. And then the last thing, something else that's not in the packet, is this sensory receptor down here, deep in the hypodermis or subcutaneous layer. This is your Pacinian, sometimes known as a lamellated capsule, and that's a pressure sensor.
We have to know that?
Yeah, you should know that. All right, so I think that's everything. Pacinian, sebaceous, reticular.
Where does it say
Yeah, is that? Oh, that's on there.
That's
to the
everything.
right.
Okay.
Everything?
All right, so there you go. That's the model.
I know, right? Let's get it all up in there. Professor, could you point out the layers to me one more time for these things? Yeah, because I didn't really get that good.
You mean the strata or the?
The strata.
Okay. So for the epidermis layer, we have 5 strata. So the dark purple bottom single row is strata basal. Then going from this lighter purple region is your stratum spinosum, about 8 to 10 layers. Then we have this dark band again with these black specks, the granules, so that's stratum granulosum. Then in the thick skin we have this white line, is stratum lucidium, and then finally over the top stratum corneum.
Okay, thank you.
And these